Hey guys, hope you liked the video intro just now. Today we will be making this viral Japanese burnt matcha cheesecake recipe which has been translated and made into a video by Future Canoe. The original cheesecake recipe was actually handwritten like this and was originally from a well-known Japanese bakery account on Twitter. Hey, chill Elon Musk. I know, it's called X right now. So I'll be leaving the recipe at the end of the video and also linking Future Canoe's video that I will be following in the typical Future Canoe style.
First step is getting triggered by a 2-ounce matcha powder bag that I paid $20 for.
First, I will be using a really expensive matcha powder that my housemate has been drinking for the last 6 months. Shout out to my friend Hoi Kok for letting me try it at one time. You can actually find this specific brand which is called Nico Neko and it can be found on Shopee which costs around 69 ringgit, nice, for only 80 grams. But goddamn is it expensive, it sure breaks the bank.
To make the paste, we'll measure out 20 grams of matcha powder. Look, that's $10 right there.
To make the paste, we'll measure out 20 grams of the matcha powder and that amount already costs 18 ringgit right there. Like goddamn!
But we'll also do 50 grams of water, stirring it with my Ligma fork to combine evenly. You want your water to be around 160 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the best temperature to bloom it and extract the most flavor.
Next, we'll be adding some warm water to the matcha to combine them evenly. The water should be around 71 degrees Celsius as it is the best temperature to bloom the matcha powder and extract the most flavor.
We'll make sure to mix it thoroughly till it becomes a thick paste, like this. Kinda looks like oil paint.
Make sure you mix it thoroughly until it becomes a thick paste like this. Wait, it kinda looks like Shrek's poop.
Now heat up some heavy cream to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
I couldn't find any heavy cream in my supermarket, so I just got some whipped cream instead. Don't worry, the only difference I found from the internet is that heavy cream had a fat percentage of 36% or more, while whipped cream had a fat percentage of 32 to 35%. The whipped cream that I bought had a fat percentage of 35.1%, so it should be fine. Now we'll be heating up the whipped cream to around 37 degrees Celsius.
You don't want it to be too hot. It's okay, we'll just put in some ice and let it chill out for a minute.
It's alright, we just leave it in the fridge and let it chill out for a while. I am following Future Canoe's tutorial to the T if I say so myself.
Once the temp is right, we'll pour in just a little bit to get it going, and when it's fully mixed, we'll pour in the rest of the cream.
Once the temperature is right, we'll pour the whipped cream into the matcha mixture, and once it's fully mixed, we'll pour in the rest of the cream.
I have to be honest, this part is really satisfying. I think green is growing on me as a color.
You're right, it is actually pretty satisfying, and green has been my favorite color for quite some time now.
Once it's nice and smooth like this, we'll set it aside and move on to the main character.
Once it's nice and smooth, we'll put this to the side and move on to the main character.
Ideally, you're gonna want your cream cheese to be completely room temperature, but if you're like me and never prepare for anything ever, you can just put it in the microwave for 40 to 90 seconds depending on the power.
I actually remembered to bring out my cream cheese, so it's already at room temperature right now. Basically, there's 350 grams of cream cheese in the bowl right now and we'll be folding them until it's softer.
If it gets a little bit difficult to work with, you can always just put it aside and deal with it later when you're in the mood. So that's how I treat all my problems in life.
I mean, I have way too much problems in my life to actually treat them that way right now, so... Ha.
In the recipe, it called for 110 grams of Japanese cane sugar, which is just like American cane sugar without the brutally racist history.
Moving on, we will be using some cane sugar that I randomly found in the supermarket and I just picked the cheapest option that was available.
And to the sugar, we're gonna mix in about 10 grams of cornstarch to help everything bind together.
Adding 10 more grams of cornstarch to make sure everything binds together.
Now we'll pour into the cream cheese and continue mixing it till everything's fully dissolved.
Next, we'll be pouring this mixture into the cream cheese and mixing it until everything is dissolved.
Mine's still quite clumpy, but as I said it before, we can just always put it aside and deal with it later.
Mine was actually mixed pretty well.
3 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. The recipe calls for exactly 200 grams of egg mixture, so if your eggs are a little bit on the smaller side like mine, you can just add an additional egg yolk to make up for the weight.
I will also be using 3 full eggs with 2 egg yolks. My family actually buys huge ass eggs, so mine was exactly 200 grams when I was done. Look at this cool trick I learned to separate the egg yolks using a plastic bottle.
I'm beating it with a Ligma fork over some warm water to make sure it's the smoothest texture.
Time to beat the eggs over some warm water like how I beat my siblings, to make sure its texture is as smooth as my brain.
And we'll pour a little bit of the egg into the cream cheese mixture and fold it in. We'll repeat it for about 5 times.
We'll be pouring some of the egg mixture into the cream cheese and mix it in. I also repeated the process 5 times. We are folding the cream cheese mixture instead of beating it to make sure that it is not too fluffy. As for cheesecakes, we want it to be as dense as possible, like the main character in most romance animes.
The process might take a really long time, but you know, therapy is expensive.
The process was quite calming and a type of therapy for me in itself.
There's a slight problem of my mixer being unusually clumpy, so I'm gonna run it through a sieve real quick.
My mixture was not clumpy at all, so I'll be skipping this step.
Now for the most satisfying part of the entire video, we're gonna mix the matcha cream into the cream cheese mixture.
Let the pouring begin.
Probably can already tell I'm putting in a lot of effort into this video. I even got a new springform cake pan.
I'm also putting a lot of effort into this recipe, as I also got a springform cake pan just for this recipe.
Before we pour the mixture in, we gotta prepare the parchment paper.
Since it looked quite cool in the video, I also decided to follow his folding method. Starting with a square, we will be folding it by the corner 1, 2, 3, and 4 times until it looks something like this. Then, we will be using this piece to measure the radius of the cake pan and make a crease by the edge of the pan. When we open it up, the circumference of the crease should be similar to the radius of the cake pan.
This is where it's gonna get a little bit annoying.
The next part was indeed very annoying. One of my fingers is holding the crease by the edge while my other hand tries to fold the upward side inwards to get a 90-degree angle with the bottom crease. It should look something like this.
I'm extremely sorry to say this, trust me, we're gonna have to repeat this step to every single fold.
I don't feel like accepting this apology, as it was seriously a pain in the ass.
Once that's done, we should be able to easily fit into our pan, and every single fold on the sides should be nice and even and beautiful.
Disclaimer, it was actually not easy to fit in the pan for me. I was seriously doubting my own skills at this point. But when I finally got it in, it actually looked pretty nice.
So do you guys think all that work was worth it?
In my opinion, it was definitely worth it.
Alright, from now on, all easy work. After all that folding, at least I get to watch this satisfying pour.
Let the pouring begin, part 2.
We'll just bang on the counter a few times to get back at my neighbor, also just to make sure there are minimal air bubbles on top.
We will also be banging it onto the counter table to wake up my family members who are probably sleeping right now. Ah yes, and also to get out the bubbles.
So we'll preheat our oven to 480, and then right before baking it, we'll lower it to 450.
I will be preheating my oven to 250 degrees Celsius, and for baking it, I will be lowering it to 230 degrees.
I don't know why.
Same here, no clue.
Setting the timer to 28 minutes.
I'll be setting the timer to 23 minutes.
So this is the end result. It's supposed to look burnt, by the way.
This is my end result, but how the heck did mine look more burnt than yours?
I'm gonna give it a little haircut to make it look cleaner.
Snip snip away.
We'll have to leave it on the counter till it completely cools. After about 2 to 3 hours, we can just wrap it up in plastic, put it in the fridge and rest it overnight.
I played some Valorant until around 2 hours passed, then wrapped it in some plastic and put it into the fridge to let it cool overnight. Around 10 hours has passed, so let's open it up and see what it looks like.
Kinda reminds me of nuclear waste, or you know, infected elephant shit.
Don't worry, mine looks exactly the same, if not worse.
It's okay, it's supposed to look like that.
Thank God. I will now be cutting out a slice to see what it actually looks like inside. The insides of the cake actually look pretty good if I say so myself. Do you see how the top part is actually separated from the rest of the cake? It looked pretty interesting and it seems like it actually separated all the way throughout the whole cake. I couldn't resist the urge to actually break it and press it all down, so that's what I did. Here's another close look at the slice of the cake, and yeah, I tried to put the two parts back together, however they still didn't really get back together completely. Now, after all that hard work of actually making the cake, it's finally time to take a bite and see what it tastes like.
Oh, goddamn!
To be honest, I was actually quite surprised by the taste, as you can have seen from my reaction. And the flavor was very matcha, very creamy like a cheesecake. But I wasn't expecting it to actually taste that good, you know. It was completely creamy. It melts through the mouth. It made me feel really good and happy, I guess. The sweet flavor of the matcha actually combined well with the burnt part of the matcha, as like the sweet part gave it a sweet, nice and sweet taste, while the top burnt part gave it a bitter, slight bitter taste to counteract the sweet taste. So the flavors was actually quite complex and quite nice and interesting, but it was like all over my mouth, and when I swallowed it, it just felt really, really nice. But you don't just have to take my word for it. You can actually see my little brother react to it, and also some of my very, very good friends lah. So here are the videos of them actually tasting it and reacting to the cake I made.
Suy xoay à.
OK OK。
是啊，
哎呀，刚刚苏以轩呢？
苏以轩看见有大意了。
两个我最不能 resist 的东西，Matcha 跟 cheesecake 掺在一起。
做以前跟旁边的 game。
这边是这边的。Ready？ 1、2、3。
怎样 ？OK 吗？
我操！
我操，
好吃嘞，好吃嘞！
很给 A L 味道。哇，这个，
我觉得我应该是没有吃到硬的地方的，我吃硬的地方。
哇，它是，哇，你是用完全部80块的 Matcha 啊？我很久没有吃到这样香的 Matcha 味了。
是不是？为什么这么香？我今天早上吃第一口的时候，我吓到它的味道。哎，它又不是那种硬硬的，其实它是比较 creamy 的。
可以加这样啊。
有一点 ice cream cake 的 feel。
我看我弟弟跟我讲，喂，这个好 ice cream cake 一样，我觉得吓到。我唯一的一个觉得是有一点甜吧，我 maybe 以后放那个糖少一点。
再少一点甜，就少吃。
那个香就出来了。
糖啊，
他的 tutorial。
OK，可以，来给你们10秒，跟我的会看的人讲一个 message， 要讲什么？
选举的时候记得选我。我会给你们美好的未来。我会建马路、修路灯。就这样。
阿班，真理有宗，不可以吵他，不可以太多 message 他，不可以太搞破他，要给他自由，最重要是要给他安全感。
安全感哦。
你看，你做女朋友又有 Matcha 给吃。
在讲什么哎？我就不懂要讲什么
OK， 这样可以啊。
I hope that you guys were entertained by my friends, and yeah, overall I think the matcha cake was actually a huge success lah. My friends and my family really enjoyed it, and I also myself really enjoyed it. The one thing that I might change is that I may use actually like maybe just 50 grams of sugar instead of 110 grams of sugar, because it was a bit on the sweeter side of things. Overall, I would give the matcha cake a 9 out of 10 because it's actually really good and I would make it again. Yeah, it was a really good dessert. I hope you guys liked the video, and you can leave a comment to tell me if these types of videos actually interest you and should I make more videos like this. Thank you guys for watching the video, and bye!